back. It is a funny Friday edition of Liquid Lunch on BizTV. Not a lot of funny things going on in the country, certainly not at the national level, although there has been a little bit more optimism lately as we're seeing some advances in Michigan and Pennsylvania, Georgia. They're ordering some small mid recounts with signature match. Arizona, they're finding ballots out of nowhere. So there are these green shoots of things happening. But at the same time, people are disgusted. Half the country doesn't believe in the election. 80% of the employers in our country, small business owners, are under siege right now. And it's causing the kind of tumult and uprising like way back when the second round of the Tea Party began. And the guy who was driving force behind that, Michael Johns, joins me right now, co-founder of the Tea Party movement, also speechwriter for George H.W. Bush. Mike, it's getting to look more and more like China is involved in our election.
Certainly does. They're a big problem. But before I start, I was listening to a little Christina Aguilera, and that song "Beautiful." I'm more of a rock guy, but it's a pretty good song, don't you think?
Yeah, I get it.
And I was thinking of Brad Pitt movies. So I was like, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That's a pretty good one. You ever see that one?
Yep, I like that one.
And Fight Club. Well, those are just two icons, along with a third icon, you, Johnny Tobacco, born on this day, December 18th.
Wow. Yeehaw. I like that. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that.
I got Bernie Sanders on my birthday, so I don't have as much to brag about, unfortunately.
He's a great antagonist for the book.
Happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you. And I know that you and other wise men in my life have encouraged me to focus more on my message than playing around by having a drink here and there, which was all good fun shtick when I started. But today, Michael, I must defy you for my birthday. I am having a little something to keep me warm.
I'd have one with you if I were there. Well, look, yeah, China, big issue. Let's start with just the fact that Peter Navarro, who I think very highly of, he's been an extraordinary advisor to President Trump. And has done, he's really fought the good fight in this administration for the last 4 years. Has put out an incredible report yesterday documenting basically how this voter fraud, I think, can really be understood because it can be. I think it was almost made consciously complicating because they used about 6 different techniques across 6 different states. But when you really dive into it and you look at the steps that were taken. They're coordinated steps. They're similar from state to state, and they clearly present credibility to this allegation that is not being taken seriously by media. They're misrepresenting it, underreporting it, not taking it seriously. Just like they didn't take the Hunter Biden story seriously going into the election, and now we find like a substantial number of Biden voters would not have voted for Biden if they'd known about the magnitude of that. And as it relates to China, absolutely. I mean, the allegation here is that at least through this Dominion voting systems, which was alleged to be incredibly easily accessible and easy to manipulate, both remotely or in person, and in other ways that China has been involved. And you sort of look at it, you say, did they have motive here? I think absolutely they did. Did they have means here? Yes, absolutely they did. And now we're kind of onto the third part of that, is that we're going to have to demonstrate this either in courts of law or in state legislatures. And it's important to realize none of this stuff had to go before courts at all, JT. That was an option that they took. I don't think courts are very predisposed to overruling these election results or litigating these issues. And in most of these states that we're talking about, these 6, with the exception of Nevada, every one of them is controlled by Republican state legislatures. And they need to hear from constituents, and they need to hear from Americans that they expect these things to be investigated and taken seriously.
So I'm watching all this stuff, and you and I have been kicking this around on where the breaking point is, where people really want to band together and stop the steal. But I'm starting to feel like if these cases continue to go in the right direction, it seems like to me, back in 2008 when Obama's economy was supposedly turned around, they were talking about these little green shoots, which never really materialized. But I feel like there are green shoots of hope still between now and January 6th that
There are.
If there are court decisions that are empirical that the election was interfered with, then there is a constitutional remedy for that, right?
Right. Well, let's just be clear on the Constitution, and maybe you could find some constitutional experts who would differ with this, but I think you would find more who agree with it. There is absolutely no statute of limitations on enforcing remedy to overt fraud in an election. So just hypothetically, if a year from now we're into 11 or 12 months of the Biden administration, and we have say a good number of whistleblowers who come forward and provide compelling evidence as it relates to these systems, or as it relates to these mysterious mass droppings of ballots, where poll watchers, how would you keep a president in office who did not legitimately, freely, and fairly obtain the 270 electoral votes? You couldn't do that. And so that's the message, I think, for those who are looking for a just outcome, which is all I seek here. I mean, obviously, I was a day one Trump supporter. I've supported this president every day for the last 4 years, but this is a much bigger issue than simply that of Trump. And these issues would concern me regardless of who the candidate was. And never before in 35 years of political involvement have I ever questioned the outcome of an election.
Wow.
This is the first time I've ever done that. So this is not an issue of sour grapes or, some, blind loyalty to Trump. I mean, if I didn't see the evidence here,
to me, it's an issue of the elephant is in the room.
Oh, yeah.
And these government people, these swamp creatures, for years and years, they employ this hide in plain sight mentality. Like, would I turn this stove on if my friend Muggsy were inside? It's like they do it right in front of us and then just want us to think, oh, no, we don't see what we know we see. I think the elephant in the room right now is people ain't going to take it. And at the same time, where I'm at. I'm trying to fight for small businesses. Like I'm fighting like hell just to say this is not the way it's to be.
Well, it's not. We can't restructure our economy by, in this sort of way where small businesses, which have been the key to job creation, to wage growth, to expansion, to entrepreneurship, are shut out and we're taken over by these chains. It's been a bad enough trend, frankly, for the last few decades. It's been devastating to a lot of communities. So I'm with you completely. I want to give you this one statistic, on Dominion Systems, which we've been talking about kind of vaguely. Court order to have a forensic examination of the system out in Michigan had come back. That report then a judge had to authorize its release. Now the typical federal guidelines for error rates on these systems federally is 0.0008. They don't want to see an error rate above that. Basically, they don't want to see any errors, period. In this forensic audit, which was ordered by the court and then ordered released by the court, the error rate was 68.05%.
Boom.
And the report that accompanies it makes the allegation that this error rate was consciously high to force these ballots into human arbitration, at which point whistleblowers who already have signed affidavits allege that these ballots were actually manipulated. So this issue of Dominion is only one component of it, but it is a major one. It certainly justifies what's going on with Maricopa County and the examination of all of the Dominion ballots out there. And we have to get rid of any foreign technologies, period, in elections. I mean, it's incredible to me that we ended up in this situation utilizing this system. And I think there's a case for a national audit in the 2020 election of every Dominion system in this country.
Wow. Well, let's hope for that. But again, I like these little seedlings I'm seeing popping up because it looks like, someone is encouraged some of these places to do hand counts with signature match audit in the counties in question. And that's probably a good place to start. Unfortunately, Mike, we got to leave it there.
Happy birthday, my friend.
Mike,
Have
thank
a very
you very
good one.
much. And you could hear Mike every Sunday with Malcolm Out Loud on, what is that, America Viewpoint.
America Out Loud and on iHeartRadio.
America Out Loud and Viewpoint on iHeartRadio.
We play at 7 p.m. on Sundays.
with us every Friday. Michael Johns, co-founder of the
Thanks,
Tea Party movement. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. All right, you stick with us. We're going to take a quick break right here. We're going to come back and we're going to light you up on a Freaky Friday. And it's my birthday. We're going to party like it's my birthday. If you want, come down to Max, have a drink.